Welcome back to Once Upon a Pod.
We are back with another fun-filled adventure, and we can't wait to dive in.
I'm Megan.
And I'm Grace, and today, this one is for the fantasy girlies, because we are talking all things Queen of Shadows, Book 4, in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J Maas.
Let this serve as your official spoiler warning. If you haven't read Queen of Shadows, or the first 3 books, press pause, grab your copy, and read it.
Yep.
Like your life depends on it. And then come back, because we're going to go full throttle into the plot twists, character arcs, emotional trauma, magical chaos, and fire-breathing queen energy.
Oh my goodness, yes. So you've been warned, so get out, okay?
Yeah, you have. All right, let's start big picture. Queen of Shadows is the book where everything shifts. Selena Sardothian, the assassin, is gone. Aelin Galathynius, rightful queen of Terrasen, is stepping into her power, and she is not playing small.
Exactly. It's a book that reclaims identity, power, magic, and mission. Aelin returns to Rifthold, not just to cause chaos, though she absolutely does, but to burn down the systems that broke her. And that begins with the man who raised her in the shadows, Arobin Hamel.
I hate that guy. It's political intrigue, intimate betrayal, emotional healing, and a whole lot of fire magic.
Yeah, basically. It's everything we love about fantasy and then some.
Yes. So we're going to break down this book. We're going to break it up into some sections. And so the first thing that we are going to talk about is Aelin's return to Rifthold. So she returns, and her return to Rifthold is so cinematic. It's quiet, controlled, not the grand entrance of a queen demanding her throne, but of a woman who's going to burn it all down first. She reclaims her identity not by shouting, but by outplaying everyone.
Yeah. And the internal transformation is just as powerful as the external mission. She's stepping back into the city where she was once broken, into Selena's world, but now she's wearing Aelin's armor, and it's heavy.
So, what are your first impressions of Aelin's reappearance in Rifthold? Personally, I thought it was super smart. I think every good leader and every good person that's trying to fight a battle, going into it first quietly and figuring out the playing field is so smart. I think that's the thing that just blows my mind with this book is there are so many twists and turns, and it is literally all because she is thinking of every single thing. Everything.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
More so than what I ever thought I could imagine. And so I think her coming in and just being this quiet, I'm hiding, literally living in the streets, you know what I mean? Trying to stay away. I think it's the best thing she could have done for the entirety of the story.
Yeah, because, she would have just ran in there guns a-blazing. That would have been a disaster, and she would have failed.
Yeah.
So that is definitely... it shows you the things that she's learned as an assassin and the sneakiness and hiding in the shadows like Arobin taught her. So she definitely used all of that to her advantage.
For sure.
Yeah, so she went in there completely unnoticed, no hiding in the shadows, exactly. Not scoping out her prey, exactly. And just seeing what the heck is going on in this.
Yeah,
in this
absolutely.
City and how she's gonna move forward.
Yeah, which that leads
you.
Thanks. Sorry, I was coughing. I've been dealing with allergies. Welcome to Ohio, people.
Haven't we all? Yeah.
Right. So that actually leads really well into the next question I have that I want us to go around or talk about. Is, do you think pretending to be Selena again forced her to face some unresolved trauma?
Yeah. I mean, come on. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Even just having to see Arobin again, like that.
Having to pretend with him again.
Absolutely. All of that was just so intense. And there's like still more trauma that she's figuring out as she's like, you know what I mean? Like facing off Arabin and facing off all these people. She realizes how broken she was and how hurt she was and how he just destroyed her over and over again. But not only her, but other people too, like Lysandra. And that's like another trauma too, to like see your friends being hurt, you know? Like that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, and I can imagine it's really hard to, because when you grow as a person, you know, you think of yourself as a new person, like, oh, I'm not that girl anymore, I'm not that woman anymore, whatever. So having to kind of like sink back down and become that person again has to be really, really difficult after all the growth that you've had. And and that could 100% bring up a whole lot of crappy stuff going on in your head. Sure. And realizing how screwed up your life really was, and you're like, how did I survive this?
Yeah. Well, and it's hard, and it's hard for us because we haven't read Assassin's Blade yet. And I'm sure that gives a whole other backstory too of like what she really went through while she was working for Arabin. You know what I mean?
Honestly, I don't even know what that one is about. Is that what it is?
It's all before she gets to the prison. Goes to goes to, what is that place called? I can't remember what it's called. Yes, before she goes to Endover. So, and it's like about Sam and all that stuff. So like it's like in the thick of like what Arabin did. So hopefully once we read that, we'll realize how much more we hate Arabin. You know what I mean? Because we don't know a ton about him.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, we really don't know a whole lot about him going.
I still hate him, but
we know that we're supposed to despise him completely, but it's like we don't know to the extent of really what he did.
Yeah, absolutely.
We learned a lot more about it in this book, obviously, because you know he knew who she was from the beginning and stuff, which we didn't know that before, and so that you know. That gives us a whole new perspective on everything.
Well, and to hit on the point, too, of like, after she realized who she was and she accepted that identity, right? She's like, Selena is dead. So it's like her having to come back and then be Selena again. I could not imagine having to do the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, that would just be so hard.
Right. Having to get back into that space and
yeah.
that mind, because you know now she's a queen. She's got that in her forefront, you know, and she wants to do what's best for her people, and of course I would imagine that would be pretty hard to go around being an assassin, killing people that you know don't deserve it. So she had to, you know, go back into that mindset. And ugh, I can't imagine the trauma that caused.
Yeah, right? My gosh. So she had to have come in with a lot of confidence. So did you feel like her confidence was earned, or do you think it was arrogant?
Yeah, I've thought about this before, and sometimes I can see how sometimes I think she's being a little arrogant, but then she goes and
you're like, no, this is why you earned it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then she changes my mind. I'm like, oh, she crazy. Like she really thinks she's gonna do that, and then she does it.
Proves it, and you're like, yeah, this is why.
You know, like that whole scheme with Arabin. I was like, she's being a little bit arrogant right now. Like, does she really think she's gonna accomplish this successfully? And like,
absolutely.
But then she did, and you're like,
You're like, okay.
So
yeah, I agree. I feel like it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, but the more I'm going into it, the more it's like, okay.
Yeah,
she 100% earned this.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about Arabin, okay? Arabin is terrifying. He's not just a villain. He's the manipulator of her past. Watching Aelin turn the tables was a masterclass in psychological chess. She fed him lies, played the innocent, and let him think he was in control. Then took everything from him.
Heck yeah, she did. Let's talk about Lysandra. I mean, what an entrance. She starts as a courtesan trapped in Arabin's world, ends the book as a shape-shifting powerhouse who literally kills him in his sleep. And Aelin lets her. She gives her that justice.
Yes, absolutely. Their friendship is born from shared pain, but it becomes this gorgeous alliance built on empowerment, which I
Absolutely.
think that is just like they hated each other, like literally
Yeah.
hated each other.
Sometimes
And
I
then,
forget that.
yeah, like they literally were each other's biggest rivals when they were living or where they were both working under Arabin. You know what I mean? Like, it's just is crazy that they go from literally hating each other to literally being the bestest of friends to the point where a murder that Aelin should have had, right?
Right.
Like should have
That was
had,
totally hers to take, honestly.
she let Lysandra have it because he also hurt her just as bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Right.
just crazy.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts on Aelin's manipulation tactics, and do you think they're justified?
Yeah, they're justified. Come on.
Yeah, they for sure are. They for sure are.
Absolutely. I mean, she a BA. I mean,
Listen, okay, we got to talk
I didn't
about
see it coming.
we got to talk about the entire scene where she finds out that he is looking for a ring, that Arabin is looking for a ring. That entire part of the book, I literally was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna die, she's gonna die, she's gonna die. And Arabin puts a freaking ring on her finger,
Oh my god.
and she
Oh
pretends
my
that
god.
she is a
I
Valg.
flipped out. I
I
flipped out.
I literally
I was
freaked,
like, you've
okay?
got to be kidding me.
I
Yeah.
was like, no, this can't be happening. But that woman thinks of everything. And she thought and
know.
got a fake one made. And I had
I know.
no idea. And I should have known that
Thanks,
that was
thanks
going
to
to
Adian,
happen.
you know?
Yes.
Because he
Thanks,
put the thought in her
Adian.
head, right?
Yes, because he was the one that was wearing a fake one the entire time to make the king think
Yeah.
that he was, doing what he was
Right.
supposed to be doing. So, like, not that that's manipulation, but it's like mental manipulation. She's like, I'm going to make you think that you know what you're doing, but in reality, you have no idea. And I think that's so
Yeah.
justified.
And it got all of us.
It did. I literally was like,
oh
no. And then I flipped the
This
page.
does not
and
just happen.
Yeah. And then you flip the page and you're like, wait, what?
fine.
Wait.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Go.
I
You
know.
what
I
mean?
know. I was like,
It just,
oh my god, this is a roller coaster.
I think all of her tactics that she uses are 100% justifiable because she's playing a game and she's playing a darn good game. Like she is doing it better than anybody else in this entire
Yes.
book. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, especially the characters in the book, they underestimate her and her abilities and her power and even just her brain. Like even without her power, she has been trained so well. And they just
the
don't.
whole time she's back in Rifthold, she doesn't have her powers, and that just shows you what
Not until the end.
natural ability she has. Like, oh my, yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. And so, my next question, Erwin's death, was it satisfying or do you think it was too easy?
You know, I was getting so nervous during that scene when
Yes,
Aelin
she's-
wasn't the one killing him. She's
Well,
like,
because
"Oh,
we don't
Lysandra
realize that
went
at
to do it."
first. Well, but we don't
Right.
like we're like, "Oh, I'll let her do it if she wants." You know what I mean? Like, and so then it flips to the chapter and you're like, "Wait, who is this doing this?" And you realize it is Lysandra. So,
Yes.
but anyway, as you were
Well,
saying,
I got really nervous.
I did too.
I was like, I don't feel good about this. I feel like something's gonna happen to Lysandra, just because obviously, yes, and yeah, Lysandra's awesome. She's she's a baddie too, but she's not Aelin, And I was like, I feel like Aelin's the only one that can successfully accomplish this. Like, I feel like Arabin's gonna know about anybody else that's trying to kill him. Like, he's gonna figure it out. So I was really nervous about that it was gonna switch and he was gonna end up killing her. And I don't know. It kind of does almost seem too easy to me. Even after the scene where it's described what happens and everything, I'm still like, I don't know. Something about this just like it didn't super sit right with me because I was like, he is supposed to be this master manipulator, know everything that's going on, but he didn't see that coming. So
Which
that's
I
just
think was the
crazy.
point. Which I
I
think was the
know.
point.
Which is just why
Or
I'm like, is this for real? Is he really dead? Is
or
like
he did know that it was coming and he just was like, meh, whatever.
he
You know
didn't
what I
care?
mean?
He's like,
Like
whatever, kill me.
maybe he just realized like there was no way to beat her. You know what I mean? But we'll never know because
Yeah.
he gone. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I get. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know, but I was very like skeptical about that for sure.
yeah,
Still kind of
and
makes me nervous. Like what? I mean, I don't know. Like you never know
yeah,
with these books, like who can pop back up. So,
absolutely, absolutely. And then so he's dead, and Aelin has gone in and changed up his will without anybody knowing, and gives Aelin all of the right of everything that he owns. What are your thoughts on that? Because I thought that was so BA, and I had no idea that that even was happening, and I
oh yeah,
was
right.
shocked.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. That was pretty crazy. Um, so was it justice or was it revenge? That's the question.
Yes.
And I don't know. That's kind of a slippery slope for me, I feel like. And I feel like it's a bit revengey for me, I think.
Yeah. Oh,
Not
it
saying
100%
that
was.
not saying that they didn't deserve some of it, but yeah, I don't know. I'm going to go with revenge
Yeah.
for sure.
I completely get that. I think that was the point. She wanted to prove that, you can't outsmart me
Yeah.
now, not anymore. Like you're not able to do that. So she
Yeah.
definitely was doing it out of revenge. Like, and I think she got everything she wanted out of it too because she sold it to the other guys, sold the property at least to the other guys, and then she took that fortune and she gave it to Lysandra. You know what I mean? Like she gave it away to people. She didn't just keep it. So, and
Yeah.
I think that was for sure a revenge of just like I am better than you and I'm nicer than you and I'm going to make sure that I use my power and use my abilities to better people and not
Mhm.
just destroy them like Arabin did. Let's get into the next section that we want to talk about, which is the rescue mission in Old Tensions.
Yeah, yeah. So Adian's rescue was one of the most intense scenes. Like I could see it playing out, but what stood out to me was the emotional tension between Aelin and Kale. They're not the same. They are not the same people anymore.
No, they clash over everything: magic, mortality, leadership. Gale's fear of magic and Aelin's full embrace of it puts them on opposite ends of a very real ideological war.
Yeah. And then we meet Nezrin. She's calm, steady, and a marksman with a bow. Katniss 17. But I loved how she balances out Kale while also stepping into the world of rebellion.
Absolutely. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. Kale is awful. I'm not enjoying him at all. This entire book, the whole time, I'm like, frick you, dude. Like,
Yeah.
be better. Do better. Like, why do you have to be such a hard A? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand why he has to be like that. So I guess my question to you is like, are you frustrated or sympathetic towards Kale? Because I literally, every time he spoke, it was like I wanted to gouge my eyes out. I was just so over him.
Yeah, for the majority of it, I was definitely frustrated with him. I was like, can you just shut up? You
Yeah.
know? And him just bringing up all these things, in his head, like,
Yeah.
oh, it's still like she's killed all these people. She continues to kill these people, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, dude, you've known this about her for a really long time, and now what she's doing is like for the greater good. Like she's not
Yeah.
just killing people willy-nilly. You know what I mean? Like yeah, she was trained as an assassin, so it's pretty easy for her, at least, it looks like it on the outside. It's pretty easy for her to just cut through people. And that's like all he sees. Like And so he just has a lot of frustration with her, and she believes that the only way to free Dorian is to kill him, and so there's a lot of tension with them for that reason. But they're both trying to do what they think is right.
Yeah.
Which is, I could be sympathetic towards that, but majority of the time he was just getting on my nerves, and I'm just like, you need to just accept this and move on.
I agree.
She is trying to freaking help you, bro. Like, she is trying to help this kingdom. I just feel like he's being really hard-headed about it.
Yeah, it was very frustrating to me. And like you said, like, I can also be super sympathetic with him because he is trying to do what he thinks is best for, you know, Dorian, obviously. But it's also so hard because it's like Aelin understands everything that's going on because of the power, because of the magic. She understands it all. You know what I mean? Whereas like Chaol only has this small fragment of understanding because he doesn't have magic. He doesn't understand magic. He doesn't like magic, you know? So like I can be sympathetic with him also. But every time he spoke, I literally was like, dude, can you please just stop? Like, just put your ego aside and just help for the greater good. Like, I need you to just do that, you know?
Yeah.
With Nesrin, Nesrin, did you think she stood out as a new favorite, or did you think she faded into the background?
Nah, she faded for me, bro.
She did. I literally...
She faded for me.
Well, and
I was like, who's this?
I literally, the entire time, like, I was like, okay, Chaol, like, you either are into her or you're not. Like, what do you want to do? And I think that all of that really made me be like, okay, this girl's not all that important right now. But I'm doing the tandem read, and she's kind of important in the Tower of Dawn. So it's I don't know. It'll be really interesting. I still don't know a ton about her, but anywho.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could say we're having similar vibes as when we were introduced to Manon, and we were like, who is this? You know? It's a little different because those were just Manon chapters.
Yes.
And this is not like that. She's just a sprinkled in character with Chaol and stuff.
100%.
But still, it's like, who is this? Why do we care about her?
Who are you, and why are you here?
Right. So obviously she's there for a reason. And like you said, we'll figure it out more later. But yeah, as of right now, I'm just like, she fades into the background for me.
Yep.
I can't, you know, she's forgetful. I don't really care.
And she's still she's still playing for both sides. Like, she's not, but she is. You know what I mean? Like, because she's still at that time working for the king. So she's like the insider. Because Chaol's not, you know what I mean? Like, he's kicked out. He's gone, you know?
Yeah.
So she's on both sides, so it's hard to see. But let's talk about Dorian and his darkness, the collar, and caged. This arc broke me. So it literally, this entire thing broke me. So, for those of you that are listening, we're to the point where Dorian is enslaved by a Valg demon. He's fully possessed. And the horror is that he's still in there, watching, unable to stop what's being done through him and his power.
Oh my gosh. It's horrible. It's so haunting. And like I said earlier, Aelin considers killing him, and Chaol refuses to give up on him, and it's so this is so agonizing. Like, the question of whether saving someone sometimes means letting them go. Like, that is horrible. That is a horrible decision to have to make.
Yeah. So each chapter that was Dorian's chapter, it broke my heart because it got smaller and smaller.
I know.
And it's like, no, like, he's about gone.
What's my name?
Why is this only 2 pages?
This person?
Like,
why? This person seems kind of familiar to me, but I don't know who this. Like, every time that would happen, I'll be like, no, we're losing him. Oh my god.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, did you think that he was still going to be reachable?
I don't think I ever lost hope in him.
I don't think I did either.
I was like, there's no way that we're losing him.
Yeah.
So even though it seemed like we were losing him, I still held on to hope that he was still in there somehow. We were going to get him out one way or another.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, there were times where I'm like, oh my gosh, he just needs to die because this poor guy needs to be put out of his misery. Like, this is all
Yeah.
just horrible. Like, somebody just needs to end it for him. Just let him go, let him be. But then I'm also like,
Yeah.
no, I love Dorian.
I
Don't
know.
do this. So for me,
Yeah.
I still, like, every time I saw a little glimpse of him in there, so I was like, oh my gosh, yes, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that, how did that affect your views of Aelin's leadership? Meaning, like, we need to kill him. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I felt like, from the beginning when she realized what happened to him, and I feel like she went pretty quickly to the idea that he for sure needed to die. I felt like I can't remember when exactly she like realized that was it was when she was getting Adian, right? And she ran into Dorian outside, and she was
Yes.
trying to reach him and he was not there, and she realized that. And but I don't know, I feel like she kind of gave up a little bit too quickly, which I didn't love, and that's where I was really sympathetic towards Kale. Um because I would have a really, really, really hard time with that too. Like I would be tackling Dorian to the ground, cuffing him, and bringing him with us until we could find a way to get this thing out of him. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't just be
Yeah.
like, cut off the head.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have been that easy because he has access to all of his powers.
Oh yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean?
true.
Like,
That's true.
something bad would have totally happened. And I think it's just that whole thing. It's hard for me because it's like, oh my gosh, Aelin, you should have done better. Like, we can all tell that he's there because we're hearing chapters and reading chapters of him that he's still there,
Yeah.
right? But she's not
Right.
around him. She doesn't
Mm-hmm.
know that there's still some glimpse of him, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
nobody knows. Kale doesn't even really know. He didn't know
No, he
at
doesn't.
all,
He
but he
is
had hope,
hopeful.
right?
Yeah.
Which I think Ellen did have hope. I think she did have hope, but I think she was coming at it at like I'm trying to help him. You know what I mean? Even if it wasn't the right answer, I'm trying to help him because I know he's struggling. I know he's fighting
Mm-hmm.
this inner battle,
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah,
know. I think
she
it's
wanted to help her friend. Yeah.
absolutely.
That is really hard. It's
Yeah.
just so hard. And I see both where Kale and Aelin are coming from. And
Absolutely.
again, like having to have that decision on your shoulders is
Oh, absolutely.
crazy and so difficult, and I would
Absolutely.
never want to have to deal
Yeah.
with something like that.
So then what do you think or what does it say about redemption? Dorian's story and everything that comes with it. What do you think it has to do with like redemption?
I mean, it's almost hard to say that that's a redemption arc because it wasn't even Dorian in the first place. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like redemption is like when it's a person and they're choosing these things on their own, and then they decide to choose the better options or whatever.
I
Does
wonder
that make
I
any
want
sense?
I
I don't
wonder if
know.
it's more redemption for Aelin
Yeah.
of like thinking that he is gone and there's no hope and then being like, "Oh, he's still there," and trying to save him. Cuz I
I
think that's
got
a
you.
big redeeming portion, right? Like for her to be like, "I'm done. I can't handle him anymore," to then being like, "Oh my gosh, we have to do everything we can to save him." Like I think that's super redeeming, and I think once she realizes that he is there, that is super redeeming. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I don't know. The whole book I think is a big redemption story, honestly.
I mean, yeah. And it's also interesting to see because you see I don't know when this happens. I can't remember. But there's one point where Kale actually agrees with Aelin and says, "Oh, she was right. He's gone." Do you remember that? When was that?
Yes, I do remember, but I can't remember what
And
portion it was.
so I find that very interesting that he was like, "Oh wait, maybe she wasn't going too quickly with this decision here. Maybe, like I get it now. She was trying to free him." But then it goes back again. And then I think Aelin has a very similar situation where she's like, "Oh, I think Kale was right." And So it's very much like a back and forth
Yes,
with them.
absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, I think the whole book is
Yeah,
a,
absolutely.
is yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't know what else
Well,
to say.
speaking of redemption, let's talk about Manon
Yeah,
and a little bit of Elodie.
she's serious. Mm-hmm.
She is
I
the
never knew how to
biggest
say that name.
she is the biggest redemption in my opinion. Let's talk about her.
Man in Blackbeak. Okay. She's still this fierce iron teeth heir, but in Queen of Shadows, she starts seeing the cracks in the system. The cruelty at Morath shakes her, and meeting Allied is a catalyst.
Allied, who is quiet but brave, hurt but not broken. The way Manon protects her, it's the first time we see Manon act out of compassion, and that's when you know her arc is shifting.
Yeah.
So, with that, how did your perception of Manon evolve?
I mean, so much. Her character has evolved so much.
Yeah.
And like you said before, her showing any kind of compassion is shocking. And I was really nervous for Allied at first, because Manon is she's scary, bro. And so when she shows up in her room and stuff, and it's like, girl, you better watch out. You better get out of there now. But what we've noticed is, like what I said before, Manon is seeing the cracks in the system, and she is seeing that things are not right, and she's starting to shift her opinions and her thoughts on everything, and that is opening up her heart a little bit.
Yeah.
And giving this young girl some compassion, which before wouldn't have been a second thought. She just would have been dead probably.
Yeah.
So that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. And then it's so important that she did give her compassion, because then we go and find out this other information about Allied, that she has Blackbeak blood in her, whatever it is, and then we find out there's something about this girl that's important that we need to find out more about. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I went from hating Manon to her being like one of my favorite characters in the entire book. Like, I think she is going to be a force to be reckoned with come the rest of this book, and I like this
Right.
series. And I think seeing this tough woman, become kind of soft is just so special. Like, normally you see that in like male characters, like being this like tough, and can't be soft. But I think it's really powerful what Sarah J Maas has done with the character Manon. Like, I think it's super good.
yeah, and I mean, you also see how she was raised in her freaking grandmother. Ugh.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
just doesn't even, just will beat the crap out of her for anything. So like, yeah, it's crazy that this girl was showing some compassion, because she has never been showed compassion in her life until Aelin showed her compassion and saved her life.
Well, that's not entirely true. She showed compassion to the one wyvern and her rider.
Oh, duh. Yeah. That's where things shifted for
It
sure.
is. She saved that.
That was
I mean,
very
she saved the girl.
complicated
Not
for her.
she couldn't. Yeah, she couldn't save the wyvern, but she saved
Saved the girl.
the girl.
Yeah,
So that
which,
was like the first thing. But then,
that's
of course,
right.
then
I
Aelin
forgot
saves
about
her
that.
life as they're trying
Then
to
I
get
think
away.
that just helped her more. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, oh,
They're like,
this
people are compassionate.
girl. Yeah, this girl that is my enemy, that should have just let me die, saved me and risked her life, even though we were just fighting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Before, and
Absolutely.
but yeah, she goes in and like, she totally could have died too, but she
Absolutely.
saves her enemy. So I think that does help her out
Yeah,
a lot. But yeah, you're
absolutely.
absolutely right. I forgot about the whole
Yeah.
wyvern incident.
Yeah. So then I guess my next question is how does Manon's care for Eli echo Aelin's bond with Lysandra? I feel like there's almost like this motherly, you know what I mean? Like motherly care from both Manon
Mm-hmm.
and Aelin. You know what I mean? Not that either one of these other characters, Eli or Lysandra needs like that mothering figure, But I do feel like it gives
Someone
that
to
like
look out for
like
them.
yeah, like it's like a deeper bond than just being friends. You know what I mean? Like there's like they're both in these same seasons and everything is happening, you know what I mean? And so they're connecting. They're kind of almost trauma bonding in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a respect thing. They're
Absolutely, yeah.
seeing what the other person has gone through and they're like, "Oh, they've been through it like I have."
Yeah.
So then, that they gain their respect that way, like, "Oh, you've been through a heck of a lot and you're still
Mhm.
surviving." Same, like same here. And so that creates a bond between them.
Absolutely.
Um, and just mutual respect. And so yeah, but I definitely see where you're coming from with
Yeah.
like the motherly type of thing. Like they kind of take them under their wing a little bit and help guide them.
Yeah. Well, and it's
um
also and it's also like how like a mother and daughter relationship goes from being a mother-daughter relationship to like a friend relationship. You know
Friend.
what I mean? Or
Yeah.
like a mom
Yeah.
friend. Like she's my mom, but she's also my bestie. Like that type of not
Right.
like a like what you would expect like from a mom and a teenager type thing. You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like it's like, oh, we're really close friends and we have this bond that's never going to break us. You know what I mean? But also,
Mm-hmm.
too, I'm going to help uplift you and show you the right way or pour into you or whatever, which I think is
Right.
really cool.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
the magic is unleashed. So let's talk reveals. The king of Adarlan didn't just ban magic, he corrupted it using word keys, and that is next level evil.
And then comes the real jaw dropper, Erewhon, a
Hmm.
Valk prince hiding in Duke Parrington.
Which makes so much
What?
sense because I hated Duke Farrington.
Oh, seriously.
Ooh.
The true evil has just stepped into the spotlight, and the stakes are now apocalyptic.
Yes. Now, I want to make a quick little detour because I want to talk about Erwin and Duke Parrington. Duke Parrington takes Caltaine with him to Morath. Is that where they
Morath.
go? Yeah,
Uh
they go
huh.
to Morath. And I just need to say, Caltaine was not expecting that. That girl has some crazy power, and I was just impressed with all of that. Just wanted to make a little side note there because she is a big part of the fall and why everything ends up happening. And I just want to put a little drop there. So I just think it's awesome. Her power is crazy. Didn't realize that. She literally sacrificed herself for the betterment of the good.
Oh my
She was
gosh.
taken over by a Valg, but yet wasn't because she
Yeah,
had
that
this
was
power in
wild.
her that allowed her to not be taken over. The whole thing was just crazy. But
Absolutely.
what were your thoughts by the Erewhon reveal?
Yeah, I didn't see it coming for sure.
Neither did I. It threw me off.
Oh yeah.
But it made so
And
much sense. I was like, oh, no wonder I hated Duke Parrington so much. Like, he was literally the worst.
of course he was the worst. But yeah, it was very shocking to me when they were fighting the king. And then um how was it that that went down where it was like how did they get the Vogue out of him, or how did they get the real king out to hear that he was possessed? Do you remember?
It's at the end. We'll talk. That's during the final battle, and
Right.
we go more into depth about that in a little bit. But we basically they get the collar off of the king right before they kill him.
Oh, okay. So he was wearing
Or the ring or whatever. Like they
he was
cut,
wearing something.
he was
That's
wearing
right.
something and they get it off of him and he was
Okay.
still in there. And that's how we find out
That's right.
it's a
That's
part of
right.
the whole final battle. Yeah.
Right. I just couldn't remember how we
Which
figured that
I
out.
also will say, which we've started a little bit of the Empire of Storm in the Tower of Dawn. It gives a little bit of backstory as to how Erwan got free and what happened with all of that and how he was able to take over somebody. So, which we're not going to go into that. We'll go into that a little bit at a different time. But anywho, as you were saying.
Different time. Anyway, yeah, but I was like totally thrown off by all of that.
I was too, but I was like, oh, okay.
The king isn't the real bad guy, which is just really shocking. And yeah, I just had no idea. I had no idea that was coming.
I agree. It was a good plot twist. Had no idea. So how does this change the tone from just rebellion to a full-on fantasy war?
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that shifts a lot of things because now we're dealing with someone extremely powerful. And
who's been around for millennia, basically.
So he doesn't just want to take over Rifthold, but everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
That changes things. That makes everybody a part of this war. That makes everyone his enemy. And everybody needs to come together to fight against him. So that changes a lot.
Yes, absolutely. Let's talk final battle, the fire, freedom, and fallout.
Yeah, so the final battle is complete chaos in the best way, though. Aelin unleashes her full power. Hallelujah. Dorian breaks free. Hallelujah. Chaol is gravely injured. The literal glass castle collapses, and its destruction and rebirth all in one scene.
Yes. And the twist is, turns out the king wasn't even the mastermind of all of this after all. He was just a pawn. Erewhon was the real threat, which means the war's only just beginning.
Right. So, which makes sense given how much book we have left.
Yes. We still have 3 more books. So, power is unleashed, okay? There's a whole scene. Everything is going down. Aedion and Rowan and what's that one guy? What is his name? He turns into a wolf. He's friends with Rowan or was friends with Rowan. What was his name? Yes. Hate that guy. Lorcan.
Right.
Not a fan. They all end up underneath in the tunnel systems underneath of the kingdom to bring down the clock tower because the clock tower is one of 3 towers that is controlling the power and the magic not being in Rifthold. So their job was to take this super powerful bomb, magical stuff that blows everything up, get it under there.
Some kind of fire, whatever.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but it's basically like a massive bomb that could literally destroy a ton of stuff. So they take a ton of that to blow up this tower, and literally the worst things happen. Valgs come, things are happening, things aren't going well. All in the same time.
Beast thingies. Yeah.
Yes. All at the same time, Aelin and Chaol are up in the castle trying to get Dorian, first of all, and also try to get the king. Or figure out what's going on with that. So Aelin is pretending that she is the king's assassin. And the king's like, you're dumb. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're trying to do here. Like, you can't fake me out. And in that process, they end up freeing Dorian. And Dorian stands up to his father. But the bomb was supposed to go off at a certain time. Didn't end up happening. It was super delayed. Power came. King hurt Chaol, hurt his back, and then power comes and everything. Like, Aelin leashes her power.
The fire.
But then also Dorian and Aelin work together, right? So that whole scene is just crazy. Rowan gets super hurt while down in the mines or in the tunnels. And so Aedion is like dragging him out of these as he's trying not to get blown up. Like, there's just all these crazy things. Like, it was just so fast-paced. So much was going on.
It was pretty wild. Honestly, I need to reread it.
Right? So, with that, what stood out to you the most in this final sequence? So then, time out. Sorry, I guess I should also preface. They end up getting onto this glass walkway, Aelin and Dorian and the king. And that's when the king is released from his power of the Valg and tells us he wasn't the bad guy. He's been under Aeron's spell for however long. He's been controlled by a Valg for the last however many years, 10 years, I think.
Long freaking time.
And Dorian gets so upset and he gets so angry. And him and Aelin work together and they bring down the castle, the entirety of the glass castle. King is dead because of it. And Aelin uses her power to use the glass to make a wall barrier around the stone castle that was the original castle of her ancestors. So, with all of that, what was your favorite thing that stood out about that sequence? All of the ending of that book.
Oh my gosh. Again, it's so hectic. And I really would like to go through and just read that whole part again. But it was very
I think for me it's Aelin and Dorian using their power together. Because Dorian's power is like raw power, right? Whereas Aelin's power is like specific. She has a lot of power, but it's specific. Whereas like Dorian's is like the most type of powerful magic you can have, right? Like even Rowan doesn't understand how powerful his magic is. And so I think them coming together, which is fire and ice, and just like
fire and ice.
I think that entire thing is just it's so powerful. It just is a reminder of how deep and strong their bond goes.
Yeah.
Even with all of the romantic history that they have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which really was like so long ago. We're so past that.
Yes.
But yeah, more so just like they had a really strong friendship, for sure. But yeah, mine was going to be very similar to that, but it was definitely like Dorian unleashing his powers and finally, escaping the Vogue and everything. And, we've never seen Dorian that like powerful before. So that was just like a huge moment for him. Like, yeah, we got to see Aelin unleash her power and we see what she does and she's, crazy. So this was just like a huge moment for Dorian.
Absolutely.
But also lots of like internal conflict for him as well through this whole thing.
Yeah, it's his whole like imagine finding out that your dad wasn't actually this bad evil monster that you've
and it wasn't even actually your dad
him,
for like the majority of your life.
Like literally, since he was like 8 or 9, his dad
Yeah.
has not been his dad the entire time.
Yeah, that's
Like,
terrible.
that's so
sad. Yeah.
So with that, how does the fall of the glass castle symbolize a bigger change? I think it just stands for like a new, fresh start. You know what I mean? Like there's still a ton that happens. Come the next book, like there's a lot that's happening in Rifthold, but I think it just is a symbol of like there's hope.
Right. Because Rifthold has been under this control of this king for so long. So it's finally all of that falling away and collapsing.
Absolutely.
And a new king is taking his place. And
absolutely.
It's, hope for a better future, for a better Rifthold. Just like breaking the chains basically and starting anew.
Absolutely. So let's talk about end of book, epilogue. Let's talk about all those things. Dorian takes the throne. Aelin prepares to return to Terrazin. Kale heads south to heal. Elide goes to find Aelin because before Kaltane destroys part of Morath, Elide is obviously around Manon, so Manon tells her to leave. She needs to go somewhere else, tries to help her escape. So she's trying to find Aelin. She's literally wandering through the woods. And Manon starts to turn to her grandmother, and everyone is in motion. I need to pause for a second. We totally forgot about the importance in that last final battle of Manon. Manon is the one that realizes and can tell that Dorian is still there. And so Manon, because Selena saves her.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that whole part.
Yes, because Elena
Like
saves her. She's like,
Manon goes. Remember,
yes.
Manon goes to Rifthold and writes in
on
Valg
that
blood.
Yes, in Valg blood that he's still there.
Yes.
And
yes.
that is like that's what
That's a huge
sets
shift.
them into return of like, we gotta go save Dorian. And then that's why everything ends up happening. I totally forgot about that. Oh my gosh. How did I forget? That is one of my favorite parts of the entire book. Because after that's when everything goes.
Yeah, I remember that whole part. We didn't really talk about when, I don't remember where they are. When Manon and Aelin are fighting, like right before that.
Yes.
What was going on there? The witches were with the king, or was it the king or the duke?
Yeah, they were trying to save somebody was taken.
Was it?
And they were trying to get them back.
Why do I feel like it was Lysandra? I think they got a hold of Lysandra, because I remember the little girl was with them, and she was the one that ran and told them she'd been captured or whatever. And then they were like, oh, we need to go get her back. And then they went and they saw Dorian there with the witches. And that's when Manon talked to Dorian. And then Chaol saw Dorian and thought he was going to go. That's when Chaol was like, you're right, Dorian needs to die. So he was going to go kill him. But then Manon steps in. And then there's like a whole suspenseful fight sequence there. Are you
sure it's Lysandra?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Before they can carry out their plan to destroy the tower, the group learns that Lysandra has been arrested by the king for being a shapeshifter and is being sent to Morath with the witches for experimentation. They plan to intercept the convoy and rescue her. She's captured by the king after Arabin sends a letter to the king claiming she's a shapeshifter.
Yes, I forgot about that. Yes.
Yeah, so the group then goes to rescue her. And that's where the whole fight goes down with Aelin and Manon.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So anywho, that was a whole side note. Sorry about that, guys.
We just didn't even touch on any of
Totally forgot about that. Anyway, so end of the book, wrapping things up. Dorian takes the throne, like I said. Aelin is returning to Terrasen. Chaol is heading south to get healed. Eli's going to find Aelin, and Manon is returning to her grandmother, and everything and everyone is in motion.
Yeah. It's not a happy ending. It's a launching pad, and that's what makes it perfect. We've closed one chapter, but opened 5 more.
Yeah, literally. So whose story or whose chapters are you most excited to follow? I mean, the obvious is Aelin and Manon for me. Like, those are my favorite. Yeah. And also, too, like, the story between, like, the budding romance between Rowan and Aelin, too. Like, those are, I'm ready for more of that.
Duh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really intrigued to see what happens with Elide, you know, because there's a lot of mystery around her and figuring out where she plays in all of this, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And obviously,
what's going to happen when she finds Aelin?
Yes, that'll be very interesting. With Aelin, do you think she's ready to rule? Do you think she's ready to be the queen?
I don't know. She's grown a lot. Don't get me wrong. She's also still very young. And
I completely agree. I think she still needs to, there's still some growth that needs to happen. But I think once she, like, gets her court in order and figures out who else is going to be a part of her team. Once we have that,
who's going to help guide her.
I think she's going to be a force to freaking reckon with. Like, once she has that set in stone and there's no worry about this entire freaking war, you know, I think, I think going through the war and whatever's going to happen in the chapters to come, in the books to come, because that's obvious, like, it's going to happen. I think that's going to be the big pivotal moment for her of like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to rule.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you.
For sure. This book is a masterclass in reclaiming identity. Aelin isn't perfect, but she's powerful, purposeful, and brave enough to carry both light and darkness.
Yeah. And the theme of female empowerment, amazing, stunning. Every woman in this book breaks chains, literally, figuratively. They rise, they protect, they take back what was stolen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This book, I literally, I couldn't put it down. I literally couldn't.
There was so much.
Out of like 5 stars, I gave it like a 4.5 out of 5. Like, I feel
I
like
gave
there
it a
was,
4. Mm-hmm.
like, it literally was just so good. I couldn't put it down. I just kept wanting to read it. And I kept being like, Grace, hurry, hurry, read it. There's
I
so much. There's
know.
so much. Go,
I
go,
know,
go,
I know,
go,
I know,
go.
I know.
And so once you finally got to the parts, I was like, yes, she understands. So I just, overall, this book was super awesome. And I just
Mm-hmm.
am excited to see what comes next,
Oh my
obviously.
gosh. Yeah, there was just so much that happened in this book, and
Yeah.
it really got me very, very excited.
Me too.
Definitely the most has happened in this book.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
we both can agree that this is probably our favorite so far, just with our
Yes.
ratings. Yeah, this one kept me on my toes for sure. For sure.
Absolutely. Yes, but like every end of every episode, we do have a game that we want to play.
Yeah. Our next episode will be about Lilo and Stitch. The live action movie comes out on May 23rd. So we'll be heading to the theater to check it out, give our thoughts, comparisons, and differences between the original and the live action, along with our ratings.
So, Grace, this game is called Experiment or Elvis. Your job
Right?
is to rapid fire style guess if the list of names are either Lilo and Stitch experiments or an Elvis song, which we all know is Stitch's favorite person, or
Elvis is
if it's a
fantastic.
trick or a fake out. Do you think you can do this?
I'm going to try.
All
Let's
right,
do
here we
it.
go. Ready?
All right.
Sparky.
Experiment.
Yes. Blue Hawaii.
Elvis song.
Felix.
Experiment.
Yes. Hound Dog.
Elvis song.
Yes. Bonnie.
Fake out.
It's an experiment.
Is it?
Teddy bear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, teddy bear.
Experiment.
No, it's an Elvis song.
It is? Wow.
Yes, it
Teddy bear.
is.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Richter.
Fake out.
It's an experiment.
What
513 causes earthquakes.
513. Oh.
Yeah. Jailhouse Rock.
Elvis song.
Yes. Angel.
Elvis song. I don't know.
It's both. Experiment
Oh.
628 brainwashes with singing. And it's also a love ballad of Elvis's. Ruben.
Nice. Experiment.
Yes. Viva Las Vegas. It took
Elvis
everything in me not to sing that. Viva Las Vegas. Slushy.
Experiment.
Yes. Elvis.
Elvis. Experiment.
It's a trick, not a song or an experiment.
Yeah, I should have known
Plute.
that. Experiment.
And Amnesio.
Experiment.
Yes. You did really, really good. Well, friends, that is our take on Queen of Shadows, and we had such a blast.
Heck yeah. If you enjoyed hanging out with us today, be sure to follow, subscribe, and leave us a review. It helps other story lovers find our show.
Absolutely. And until next time, keep dreaming, keep telling stories, and we'll see you all real soon.